here's the problem, is that the plaintiffs don't want it to be resolved. Their ultimate goal, in my mind, is to have the courts force the state to increase the per pupil expenditure. This was the goal for a lot of these lawsuits that came out of the mid-1990s. I mean, we saw these lawsuits in many other states with the goal of trying to get the courts to compel states to throw more money at public schools. Now, not all states were willing to do that, and in fact, we see in some states today some of these cases that have come up where they are actually forcing the state to throw more money at public schools. North Carolina has been unwilling to do that, mostly because the judiciary has been very sensitive to the fact that it's the legislature and not the judiciary that determines where the money goes in North Carolina. And so there's a separation of powers issue that they haven't been willing to cross, but we have folks that want the state, the judiciary, to cross that line.
And now Governor Roy Cooper has created a commission. Tell us about that.
Well, the commission would be just a way to continue to get the state to try to get the state to increase the amount of money. I mean, he talks about resources. And when Governor Cooper talks about resources, he's talking about money. He's not talking about human resources. And so this is going to be a way to try to use the judicial system as a way to try to hammer the legislature into spending more money. And I think that is going to be the outcome of this group that he's putting together. Is that's going to be their major recommendation. I can tell you right now that's going to be their major recommendation, even without hearing or even knowing who's appointed to it. That's what they're going to recommend.
Now, meantime, an additional development that has come to the fore is that the parties in the lawsuit actually want a consultant brought in. What's that about?
Well, Judge Howard Manning has retired from the bench, and so there's been some talk about whether we could get a judge that would replace him that would have the kind of effect that he did on making sure that the constitutional requirement was being met. And so I think the idea now is that rather than looking at whether there is a judge on the bench that could take over for Manning, having a consultant come in and advise the court on what the court should do. Now, I'm really worried about having an outside consultant come in and do this because it begs a lot of questions. What kind of power will they have? Will the courts be compelled to follow through in what the consultant recommends? There's just a lot of unanswered questions about it.